Hello. So here we go. 3.7.2, solving absolute value inequalities. We wrote down this essential question yesterday, so really we're just going on the notes that we have yesterday. So you don't have to rewrite it. But yesterday we talked about absolute value equalities, just with an equal sign. And so after this lesson, you should be able to answer the question, how does absolute value affect inequalities? So we're gonna start right here. This is the absolute value of x equals 4. And so what I know is that there are two things that x could be that would give you the absolute value of 4. What are they? Well, x could be positive 4, or x could be negative 4. And remember, sometimes we wrote that as plus or minus 4. You're welcome to do that if you would like. So this was yesterday's piece. Now we're going to take that and we're going to put an inequality sign in between. So I look at this and I say, all right, there's still two things basically that could satisfy the x. There's going to be x could be 4 and x could be negative 4. The problem is we can't just put an equal sign in. This time we've got this guy right here. So what happens is the first one you always just put the regular sign in. So x is less than 4. Then when I go over and make it negative 4, think about it for a second. Inequalities, if the sign changes, if the plus or minus changes, what has to happen to the inequality? Right. You've got to flip that to make this happen. So now, today, you get to graph. So I'm going to put a little line out, and I'm going to graph. So I look at what are the two numbers that I have. In this case, I have 4 over here, and you've got to write them in order. Okay, so make sure you have the negative 4 on the left. Then I circle those two things. Do I fill them in? No, I do not, because there's not a line underneath there. All right, and then I think, now I've got to figure out, is this an and going in, or is it an or going out? I don't know, so I really just have to look. So x is less than 4, which means I kind of start going this way, and x is greater than negative 4. Well, look it, they meet in the middle. When I was young, and maybe your mom and dad, there was a song, we'd meet in the middle, neath that old Georgia pine. Yeah, random beaver moment. So here we go. Yeah, it's an and. It goes in, it meets in the middle. All right, so now let's check this. Absolute value of x equals 2. So there are two things that this x could be. We've got x could be either what or what? 2 or negative 2. So plus or minus 2. Now I go over here, but I've got a different thing in the middle. So I've got x and 2. I've got x and negative 2. I start here. I put that sign in. Over here, I flipped the positive negative. So what do I have to do with the inequality? Yes. I'm going to flip that too. Now I'm going to graph it. So I put out my line, and the two numbers that I put in there are, let's see, negative 2 is over here, positive 2 is over here. This time it's got an equal to, so I put my circle on. I fill them in this time. Now let's see, so x is greater than 2. I just have to pay attention. X is greater than 2 goes this way. X is less than 2 goes this way. Now you may have noticed, I'm just gonna point it out but not say it out loud. Do you notice this one is an and, look at the original. This one is an or, it goes out, look at the original, and look at the inequalities and see if you see something. If you don't see it yet, that's totally cool. We're gonna go to the next slide and do a couple more. Solving absolute value inequalities. Here we go. This time it's not just that plain x, but here's what I know. Inside of here, this little piece could be either 8 or negative 8. All right, so I'll split that out. So I'm going to split it into x plus 6 and 8, and then x plus 6 and negative 8. Now let's go back and take care of the inequality signs. This one was just the positive, so I keep it like that. This one, I switched this sign to negative, so what happens here? Yeah. All right, now, draw your line down. Now you just solve them. So inequality, or absolute values almost always give you two answers. So I split it into my positive and to my negative. Minus 6, minus 6, and I get x is less than or equal to negative 2. Again, hopefully by now you know if I'm going too fast, you just push pause. If I'm going too slow, then speed ahead. All right, here we go. Drop down my x greater than negative 14. Make sure you're being careful with that. So these are my two things. I put out my little line. Let's graph them. Now you may have noticed a pattern from the last slide. Let's see if we see it now. Negative 14 is the smaller number. Negative 2. I'm going to put the circles around them. Do I fill them in? No, because it's not equal. Good. Now, do you think it's going to go and or? Let's check. X is less than negative 2, so I go this way. X is greater than negative 4, go this way. There we go. This is an and. Let's go over to this one. We have to go through steps. This one, we didn't have to do a whole lot. Now, I'm going to go back in for this one, and I'm going to highlight something again and see if this helps. This is my goal that I'm going to put positive or negative with, correct? Now, in the process, this right here, we've got this extra plus 4 hanging on that cannot be there. So, I have to get rid of this plus 4 before I can get to this piece right here. So, I'm going to go minus 4, minus 4. I cannot just set stuff to positive 10 and negative 10. Then I drop this down, so I've got my absolute value of 3x minus 3 greater than or equal to 6. Now, did you see that this one was an and? Look at the inequality. What do you think this one's going to be? Just make a hypothesis real quick. So now, this is the piece that I want to have with, I'm going to use the 6 for the positive and negative, not the 10. Do you see how that happened? You have to get rid of all of these hanger-oner guys. So now I'm going to split it. I've got 3x minus 3. What's in here could be either positive 6, or what's in there could be negative 6. So the first one, the positive 6, I keep the sign as it is. Then this one, because I put a negative over here, I've got to flip the inequality. So you go ahead and solve. I'm going to talk through it. If you want to push pause and do it yourself, awesome. Plus 3. I get 9. Drop down my 3x. I'm going to keep that sign in there. Undo the 3x. I divide by 3. Divide by 3. Seriously, when you're doing this, if this is hard, I talk to myself all the time. And some people think that's weird, and I think it helps me get the right answer. And so weird works. Talk to yourself. It's all good. Especially, yeah, you know you talk to yourself. If you do, some of you don't, but that's weird. All right, so I'm adding the 3 now to both of these, and 3x less than or equal to negative 3, and divide by 3, divide by 3. Now, is there any, do I have to flip the sign again because I've got a negative 3 over here? And the answer is no. Oh gosh, did I just erase it? No, I just covered it up. This is positive 3, so there's no, this inequality does not flip. It did originally, but it doesn't again. Now let's see, and I get negative 1. All right, I'm running out of room, so I'm going to put my graph up here, and that is fine. Let's see, the two numbers I've got are negative 1 and 3. Negative 1 and 3. Do I fill them in? Yes, because of that equal sign under there. And then now I figure out x is greater than 3, x is greater than 3. So just being thoughtful, oh, that goes out. And x is less than -1, that goes out the other way. Oh, got it. This is an OR. So would you write down a little thought bubble, something like that? When you see the inequality going to the left, it's an and. And the way that I think about that, I was trying to think, what's a good little device to remember that? Well, that's my left hand. And so left and go together. And then I was randomly singing a song. Look, it's going to the right. And I started singing, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And you may say to yourself, what the heck does that have to do with anything? Well, what do you row with? You row with oars. And row starts with R. And you row with oars. If you go to the right, it's an or, which is crazy. It might never help you, but it helps me. So left hand, right is your or, because you're rowing or something. There you go. That is the lesson for today. Here's your home fun, page 210, 35 through 47, odd. Now, I gave you the odds so you could check in the back of the book, not so you could cheat. If there's no work, you don't get any credit. So you can't just look in the back of the book and say, oh, here's the answer. You actually do the problem, and then if you want to check your answer, great. Number 75, 90 through 93. If you struggle with these guys right here, look at the example earlier in the book, because I may not have covered those, but I think what I covered was plenty. So, super excited to see you tomorrow. Have a great, great day.